Hello, everyone. This is Marcus Bickle. This is the Naples Money Managers News You Can Use, and I am by myself today, as you can all see. Don, my normal partner, is in Texas, and Brian is busy today, so you get me. It'll be a short episode, but we'll just cover some kind of the state of the market and where the accounts are, that kind of stuff. So we've had a pretty solid uptrend in the market over the last week or so. Things actually seem kind of stable for the first time this year. The Dow is pretty close to where it was at the beginning of the year, still about 1,000 points off, but within striking distance. Some of the indexes are positive. And why is that? Well, for the most part, we seem to be getting some clarity on the overall picture of these tariffs. There's some dispute in the courts. We talked about that last week, where there's been some challenges to the executive, the president's ability to apply these tariffs. And for the most part, the administration has been doing it through various laws around national security. But the challenges have stated that that is overly broad. One federal court struck it down. It went to the appeals and has now hit a stay. Now what that means is it has not been entirely struck down. It has been stayed, meaning the ruling of the original federal judge is on hold until the appeals court can come to a decision. But from a practical standpoint, folks, the executive has a lot of powers, a lot of laws, some of them very infrequently used, but a lot of options to do these things. So most recently, as of I believe yesterday evening, the 50% increase in tariffs on aluminum and steel imports went into effect. Now that right there, folks, is a really good example of what we're talking about with the executive's ability to apply a specific tariff to an industry that has national security implications. Now steel, you can see why that would have national security implications, especially if you've been following the U.S. Steel, Nippon Steel deal that's been kind of kicking around for a couple administrations now. Essentially what that is a Japan-based steel company, Nippon Steel. Fun fact, Nippon is the name for Japan in their country. But is attempting to buy U.S. Steel, and it has been halted by several administrations now, notably both the Biden and the Trump administration has halted the purchase of that, because regardless of kind of where you sit on the aisle, making certain critical components within your country is probably something we can all agree on. We saw that during COVID when we couldn't get masks. So this kind of thing is probably what the administration is aiming at. Now, it gets a little murky when you talk about whether or not there's a national security concern for avocados or coffee. That's going to come down to various lawyers on both sides of the aisle to argue, and we'll see where it comes out. But more or less, we've kind of reached an equilibrium in the markets, and that has caused the market to kind of move up in a way that we hadn't seen since last year. We've also gotten some pretty solid earnings from key companies, namely NVIDIA, Meta, the Magnificent Seven, folks. They're doing well, even in this environment. So that tends to drag the whole market up. We're seeing positive performance across most of our option writing portfolios and growth portfolios. So if you're keeping an eye on that, folks, you should definitely see that. But we are in June. When did that happen? Halfway through 2025. So that means taxes are going to be a concern very, very soon, folks. We'll be in the third quarter before we know it. But the good news is we are already looking at that in the portfolios. The options provide us a lot of options. Dawn hates that pun, but she's not here, to do what we want and to really be able to massage the tax situation inside of your portfolios. We should have another solid, hopefully either neutral or very small taxable year for those taxable accounts that we manage. And that's even if we do have a good solid upside. If the market continues to trend upwards like we've been seeing, we should still be able to manage that just fine. That's kind of all I have today, folks. I know I'm not as interesting as Dawn, unfortunately. She always has some kind of interesting tidbit. I'm, just the facts. But remember, money matters, but most importantly, you matter. Please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you again next week. Thank you.